He is the leader of the wolf pack, and she is the descendant of the fairies. Two worlds should never intersect, yet they collide in a forbidden spark under the trickery of fate. 35 forever changed, 𝐊𝐲𝐽. I'm on high alert, even with the ridiculous decorations surrounding me. Flowers, streamers. I suppose that's what these ceremonies are for. 𝐻𝐵 and 𝐾𝐜 are becoming mated. An ancient ceremony that unites two people. I can't say I'm not sick with envy watching 𝐾𝐜 to walk down the aisle with her arm linked with her father's. Joy in her eyes. A little skip in her step. I can't wait to see Hendrix like that. Just because we're having this event, it doesn't mean that I'm not on my guard. There's already been a rogue attack since Ivy arrived. A short few weeks, and they've already shown their faces. It was a short attack, one with strategy. They pretended to invade. Their real plan is bound to be around the corner. They think we won't be expecting it. Luckily for us, I always assume the worst and prepare for it. I hardly pay attention when 𝐾𝐜 and 𝐻𝐵 take each other's hands. He stares at his female like she's his whole world. Because maybe she is. I wonder if I look at Hendrix that way. Somehow, my advice worked. And now 𝐾𝐜 has accepted 𝐻𝐵 despite their past disagreements, or whatever it is that they went through. It took a while, but now that it's New Year's Eve, they're finally making it official. 𝐿 marking is the shifter equivalent of getting married. 𝐻𝐵, knowing that I chose him for my team, I offered him the role as my 𝐴𝐻, and 𝐻𝐺 considering it. It's a relief to know that the spot will most likely be filled by someone trustworthy. The way he takes care of his mate, that's someone that can help run a pack. After the first attack, 𝐻𝐺 has been nothing but resourceful. His actions show his experience in these sorts of things. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He'll be taking his mate and his team with him if he accepts. I'm not thrilled about that, but if it helps my pack, then it's worth it. The ridiculous pack FICO, though, just prattles on, and with the importance of mates and dedication. I don't listen. I've heard it 1,000 times. Savannah is restless at my side, and I sense something unnerving crackling through the air. I don't ignore it. I never ignore my gut feeling, except, of course, when I left Hendrix. That went against every cell in my body. I love her. She still has me blocked on her cell phone. Dozens of phone calls and text messages won't do that. They go unanswered. A shout in the void. I rub at my forehead, thinking it over for the 1,000th time today. Did try to reach out to her too soon. When will she talk to me again? The only thing that breaks my train of thought is the howling noise of an alarm going off. My eyes slide to 𝐻𝐵, just to see that 𝐻𝐺 is looking at me with a wave of deep panic flashing through him. 𝐻𝐺 is probably scared for his mate. He was just about to bite into her neck when the attack alarm started. Great timing. Of course the alarm sounded right before he was able to mark her. It's meant to be. My brain works on automatic while I stand. Savannah murmurs words frantically to me as everyone begins to panic. Game plan. She presses. I nod towards 𝐻𝐵 as he instructs his team. It seems like 𝐻𝐺 has got the hang of it so far. She reluctantly looks over at our prospective new 𝐴𝐻. A sneer on her thin face. The sirens continue to ring behind us, but I can still hear the disgruntled sounds she mumbles. Savannah is not happy about 𝐻𝐵 joining our ranks. She doesn't like him. Then again, she doesn't like most people. I need a Delta too. I've been thinking about adding a 4th in command for a while, but I won't tell her that. She hates change. It's obvious that 𝐻𝐵 is telling Reed to take the werewolf females back to the bunker. His mate appears angry at such an idea. It's for the best. If any of them run into 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐼 or the Red Alpha, they're done for. If Hendrix were here, I would build her very own underground bunker made of impenetrable materials. My heart sinks when I think of my mate, and I wonder how she's spending her New Year's Eve. It's likely better than mine. Shaking off my thoughts, I take charge. It's time to fight. You two, you go with them. I say to the psychologist and 𝐾𝐼𝐬𝐽's father, they don't put up a fight like the females. They follow Reed closely, almost excited to be hidden away, even though they're males. They're not fighters. Gender doesn't matter in a fight. Power does. That's why 𝐶𝐴VN's here. She's powerful fighter. If I locked away everyone with boots, it'd be an idiot. When I glance around our small circle, I make eye contact with each and every lichen before me. Savannah, Kyron, Ezra, and Miranda. They look to me to lead them, instruct them. I've left my mate to find the Red Alpha. I won't let this chance slip away, because I won't be strong enough if I have to leave her again. I can't choose between her and a mission again. I won't. We split up. Enthusiasm and Hiram, make your way from the outside in, rounding up any stragglers in the pack that need to be in the bunker. Bring them to safety as quickly as you can. You run into any rogues. You kill them. No questions asked, go. I command, and Ezra's teammates shoot him a look. He nods, glancing at me. Achilles already accepted me as his alpha. Good. They flee, shifting mid-sprint into gigantic beasts that shake the ground with each gallop of their long bodies. Enormous wolves on the hunt. They seem unstoppable. And maybe they are, but you can never be sure. I thought Weeda was unstoppable. Achilles gone now. I turn to Ezra and Savannah. They're staring at me expectantly, raised eyebrows and curious eyes, ready to eat up any instructions I give them. I knew this would happen. It's good strategy on the Red Alpha's part. The first attack was to distract, make us think it was a one and done, that was it. This is the real fight. This is what we were waiting for. Rubbing at my head as it throbs persistently. I'm ready to shift. The sun is down. The mood is out. The beast inside me claws to be set free. What's the plan? What do we do? Savannah wonders in exasperation. Her arms are folded over her chest, and she angles her body to be in front of Ezra, trying to catch my gaze. She's so childish sometimes, and I find myself questioning why she's my sidekick. We fight, find rogues, take them down, look for the real enemy. As soon as you catch a whiff of the Red Alpha or 𝐊𝐢𝐳, send me the signal. I glance between the both of them, reminded of the differences between them. Savannah is almost as tall as Ezra, but not quite. Their coloring is different. Their attitudes too. They are complete opposites. I turn around, stalking into the woods as a flame ignites between my ribs. I'm ready to shift, ready to fight, ready to give in to the primal instinct to kill. It's a constant companion. How do we signal? I hear Ezra ask behind me, though I'm not sure who the question is directed at. Hell no. He'll find you, Savannah explains, knowing that I'm too far in the zone to talk. My bones snap, lengthening then converging. My muscles swell with strength until I'm much higher off the forest floor. My nose twitches, my claws digging into the frozen ground. Everything appears so small when I shift. Anything I come across is insignificant to me. I'm the most powerful creature roaming the planet. Nothing impresses me. Nothing but a beautiful human girl who holds my heart. I sprint away, dodging trees and following my instincts. I don't come across any rogues at first, but when I do, they don't stay long. The wolves are tiny in comparison to my size, and they can sense the power rippling off of me in waves. All shifters, and most supernatural creatures, can sense power. It's almost like vibrations. The more strength, the more painful the vibration. It can cause headaches. To my agent 𝐷𝐞𝐻𝐿, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Dread. Alone. It's a good intimidation tactic. The rogue werewolves take one look at me, and their tails tuck between their legs. The little group of them tear off in the other direction. My chest huffs. I'm used to being terrifying, and it leads me to thinking about Hendrix again. She's never shown fear towards me. It has to be because we're mates. That can be the only explanation. It's a miracle she's not scared of me. I miss her. There's a pain in my chest, a loose bolt in my head, and it all started as soon as I walked out of her apartment door. She's my mate, my purpose. What am I supposed to do without her? After several long minutes of having no luck, a dull howl rumbles through the crisp night air. My head swings. Ezra's calling me. He found something. It only takes a second to latch onto the scent that stings my nose. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. An unfamiliar one. Our kind shares a similar undertone in scent, a slight spice. It has to be 𝐊𝐲𝐳, or who knows, the red alpha could be right in my grasp. All this time, Wheeler's death will be paid for in full. Immerse. I sprint, right towards the smell, and it grows stronger and stronger. A white blur stands yards ahead of me, 𝐊𝐲𝐳. I stop dead, and he stares at me with furious eyes that glow blue through the foggy air. He snarls, his pink nose scrunching up. He takes a defensive stance. Even though 𝐻ES in his wolf form, he looks as if 𝐻ES smiling ferociously, gleeful at the opportunity for a fight. But something is not quite right about his gaze. There's a haze covering his vision, a foggy film blocking his soul. It's all wrong. Our 𝐻ES being possessed, and not by any spirit. A 𝐻ES being controlled by someone with black magic. I've seen it before. Slowly putting one paw in front of the other, I observe him. A 𝐻ES thickly built with rippling muscles. I lick my jaws before propelling myself. He snaps at my neck, trying to go in for the kill at the first strike. I launch my side into his chest until 𝐻ES pinned against a tree. I can't him if 𝐻ES being controlled. My best bet is to disarm him. Unfortunately, since we're both enormous creatures, the tree cracks under the pressure. The albino goes tumbling to the ground. I'm only on top of him for a second before he shoves me off. He makes a grab for my tail, but I dodge him, snarling in his face before shouldering him away again. I can't try to destroy someone who isn't in their right mind. A 𝐻ES being held against his will. It's not his fault 𝐻ES is so aggressive. He has no choice. I won't kill him. Again, he bites at me, and I feel another presence crawl up behind us. A 𝐻ES watching us from the sidelines, staring at us and off from the shadows. I easily dodge 𝐊𝐲𝐳's every attack. He snaps his jowls, his saliva speckling my coat. A growl reverberates through the air. I won't fight back, and it's making him frustrated. His eyes gleam maliciously, and he licks his white teeth. As he runs at me, the sound of another tree falling hits my ears. My head turns for a moment to see one pinning Ezra to the ground. It's not any ordinary tree. It's covered in false flames. Shit. Black magic. I was right. Now I know it has to be the red alpha. 𝐊𝐲𝐳 interrupts my thoughts by barking. Then he nips at the back of my neck. I continue to dodge as he leads me farther away from Ezra, corralling me until I can't see him anymore. It's on purpose. A good tactic to get me away from his master. 𝐻ES being a loyal slave without knowing it. A gust of cold wind ripples through the woods, and 𝐊𝐲𝐳 halts. His nostrils flare when he backs away from me. I stop as well, no longer in defensive mode. Before my very eyes, the haze of confusion disappears from his face. In a snap of a finger, he is his own body back. 𝐻ES not under the red alpha spell, and I think I know what changed him. I can't be sure though. He doesn't even look at me as he bolts towards the center of the pack. I debate on whether or not to chase after him, but when I hear 𝐊𝐲𝐳's bark, I know I have to help him. When I find him, 𝐻ES still pinned under the tree, unable to get free. The female standing before him wields the fire that encases him with nimble, experienced fingers. The red alpha, she's a female. It's a surprise, but I quickly get over it. I charge, mouth open and ready to deliver a world of hurt to this evil person. She killed my 𝐾𝐜𝐤. She twisted 𝐊𝐲𝐻ES' mind to do her bidding. She's slaughtered hundreds. She has to be destroyed. She dies now. The red alpha is quick on her toes, jumping out of the way just before I hit her. By the scent of her, I know she's a lichen, but she also smells like a pup. She hasn't even shifted yet. How has she been alive this long without shifting? Ezra pulls himself free, the tree toppling to the ground behind him. He shakes out his body, a renewed power in his stance at being freed. All of a sudden, I'm levitating. My paws leave the snow. The air shifts around me as pure evil energy lifts me into the sky. Panic soon follows. I can't get purchase as I move my limbs, but it doesn't matter, because I'm zooming through ashy flames. My spine spasms as I crash into a tree. The branches shudder under my weight, and I hit the ground with a thud. I lay there for a minute. I do a once-over scan of my body, making sure nothing's broken. It seems like I'm fine, but my pride is shot to hell. One glance up, and I'm shocked at what I see unraveling. The fight between Ezra and the Red Alpha is something strange. I caught my finger on it, until I realize how similar they look. The red hair, the yellow eyes, the passion for fighting. They're related. They have to be. This fight has nothing to do with me, and I won't get in their way unless I have to. The battle that ensues is legendary, and not one that I will soon forget. My hands clamp on my arms as I stare at Savannah. She continues to show her attitude, and I don't like it. She huffs and puffs, pushing her curtain of hair behind her shoulder. She shoots me a glare before looking back at the person of interest. 𝐿 narrows his eyes at her, slouched in a leather chair, clutching his mate to his chest as usual. It's all 𝐻ES done since he found her. He won't let the poor girl go for a second. You can leave, I inform Savannah after a moment of silence. This is supposed to be a professional interview. And 𝐶𝐻, throwing a tantrum, she whirls around on me, eyes wide with shock and fury as her mouth hangs open. She jabs a finger in my face. You killed Wheeler. Does that mean nothing to you? Our cheers dangerous. 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐷𝐞𝐿 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝. Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. He needs to pay for his crimes, she insists, her voice becoming shrill. I fold my arms a little tighter. I have to restrain myself from hurting her. Another fight is the last thing we need right now. That's for me to decide. That's why we're here. But since you're causing so much trouble, I think it would be better if you just left. I tell her, motioning my head to the door. Savannah's mouth clamps shut. She makes an outraged sound through her teeth, and proceeds to stomp out of the room. I turn back to 𝐿𝐲𝐾 once my headstrong beta has gone. He growls at me, and I know it's not out of sheer aggression. He just doesn't want me to be near his mate. I try not to even spare a glance at the blonde in his arms. It's too risky. Would you like to let Tressa leave before we continue? He shakes his head adamantly, but the werewolf female speaks up. I can leave if you need me to. It's the first sentence she's spoken since 𝐻𝐾 basically tackled her. One of the other lichens, 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐷𝐞𝐝 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝. Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Insisted that we kill them both. Apparently, Sandra is 𝐾𝐿EPTO's older sister, and she's been a bully to all those around her. Under further investigation, she's lived a life of abuse from her mother, who is now locked in the pack prison. She's not the only one in desperate need of a second chance, no. 𝐿𝐲𝐾 says softly, a tone he has specifically reserved for her ears. I want you here. I don't blame him. All I want to do is have Hendrix in my arms. Unfortunately, I don't get that luxury right now. She shrugs, a shy smile on her face as she tucks her head in his neck, sighing in contentment. 𝐿𝐲𝐾 visibly relaxes. Can we get this over with? He demands, and I nod. I don't usually let people talk to me like that, but I don't have the energy to fight him. I also want to get this over with. How did you meet the Red Alpha? And do you know her name? And he narrows his crystal-colored eyes at me. Why does it matter? She's gone now. I thought she was dead. To my agent extraordinaire, 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐸𝐴𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝 enthusiasm. She took a silver sword to the heart, And that should kill any lichen. Except for the fact that we don't have a body to prove it. She escaped right after Ezra stabbed her. I'm not sure how long it'll take to find her. But as soon as she's dead, I'm getting my baby back. That's all that matters. Yes and no. There's no evidence she's dead. Do you have any idea about that? 𝐊𝐲𝐬𝐧𝐼 squirk while he thinks, absently petting his mate's back while he mulls it over. 𝐿𝐲𝐳 a strange vision of white, his hair and skin paler than the walls around us. I thought the conference room walls were blinding before, but they are dull in comparison. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 is so light that he almost glows. 𝐿𝐲𝐳 powerful. Her magic could keep her alive, but not for long. She has to die eventually. He shakes his head, and I do not know her name. She got me to join her by saying she would help me find my mate. She somehow knew how desperate I was to have her. It was a trap. She got in my head. Sandra senses her mate's distress, placing a hand on his pecs and whispers soft words in his ear. A small smile forms on his pink lips. The air in the room is less tight. It makes sense. After years of trying to find his soulmate, he would have done anything to be with her. How could he know what would happen? I pity the poor lichen. It's clear he treasures Tressa. I think back to Ezra, now dealing with the knowledge he has a long-lost sibling he never knew he had. The Red Alpha is his sister. 𝐿𝐲𝐬 with his mate now because she comforts the darkest parts of his soul. Ezra is helping her past her grief. 𝐾𝐥𝐿 lost a sister and her father in the bloody battle. They aid each other, like 𝐊𝐲𝐬 and myself. Ezra has changed through finding the other half. 𝐿𝐲𝐬 a better person, as am I, as is 𝐊𝐲𝐬. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 deserves a second chance. The Red Alpha is the one that made him kill Wheeler. I'm sure my old Gemma would understand my decision. I want you to become my fourth in command. My daughter, I say to 𝐊𝐲𝐬. Tressa twists in his arms to look at me, but he doesn't appear as excited. His jaw works, his arms clamping down on his mate for security. Why? I killed your pack members. I helped the Red Alpha. How can you trust me? Fidgeting with Tressa's hair. I don't know if I can completely trust you, but I know you're a good male. You were being controlled, but you had good intentions. You're strong, and old and presuming, so it works out. What I don't tell him is that it's also a way for me to keep a close eye on him at his whereabouts. I don't feel like keeping track of him. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 can also provide more information on the Red Alpha. I watch him think it over. What's in it for me? And I almost smile. I knew he was going to ask that. It's a hidden pack, and all of our pack members are lichens. They will all fight to keep the pack secure. You and your mate, and any pups you have, will be safe and provided for. You'll have your own private house and land as well. I know how appealing it sounds, because he immediately perks up. 𝐿𝐲𝐬's interested. He looks down at him, mate. Adoration painted across his face. I know 𝐿𝐲𝐬's picturing his future with her, because it's something I've done many times while I watch my own mate. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 finally answers without looking away from Sandra. Deal. We shake hands, and I leave him and the female to rest. I walk through the snow, into the woods to cool down. I sigh, running the hand down my face. It's a relief to have Ezra and 𝐊𝐲𝐬 join my team. But we have to leave here, and soon. I've been away from my pack for too long. I miss my mate more than anything, and I can't stand to be so far away from her. Montana is on the other side of the country. Who knows how long it will take to find the Red Alpha? I could be waiting years, but I doubt that it'll last that long without caving in. It'll go to her before summer hits. Either way, I know it'd wait a whole eternity if it meant I get to be with Hendrix. Just worth every second of pain. 36 fatherless Cedric POV. I thought that if I got that to my pack, that everything would be perfect. Maybe the peace of being home, where I belong, would bring some clam back into my life. I'm in my element. Things should be normal. They should be better. But they're not. They're far from it. I'm being bombarded with responsibilities and questions as soon as we pull into the grounds. I definitely haven't forgotten how consuming being an alpha is. And I did not miss this part of the job. In being called in a million different directions. I feel like in being pulled apart. People wonder where I've been. They ask about what I did, and they look at me with perplexed expressions. I notice their eyes following me, their whispered words. They can tell I've changed, that my whole soul has shifted somehow. No one says anything about it directly to me, but they don't have to. I can tell they detect the difference in me. Then there's the fact that I can't get away from Hendrix. Everything reminds me of her. I can't escape it. It seems that everywhere I turn, I'm looking at a happy mated couple that are doting on each other. It gets worse when 𝐊𝐢𝐳 and 𝐻𝐿𝐬 have their mating ceremony. Again, it was interrupted last time. 𝐊𝐢𝐳 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐂𝐤𝐧𝐑𝐚 enthusiasm. It's almost nauseating when the jealousy threatens to choke me. I have to turn away. As soon as the ceremony is over, I disappear, or try to. At every turn there's someone trying to convince me to stay a little longer, to enjoy the festivities. I just decline without saying a single word, shaking my head adamantly. I can't be around any of this for any longer. I have to be alone. I stumble through the snow, hearing the cheers and music disappear behind me, laughs echo off the trees, chasing me into the woods. The moon is wide and glowing in the sky. It reflects off of the snow, making it as bright as day outside. Slinking towards the forest, I don't look back, and I don't think about what I'm missing out on. I'd rather not be submerged in pop music and liquor. It takes a lot to get me intoxicated, and I mean a lot. Who wants to drink 10 bottles of whiskey? No me. I don't stop walking. Not when an owl hoots at me, or when a chunk of snow SLUFF off a tree limb above me. I'm wearing formal clothes, suit and tie, as is the appropriate attire for a mating ceremony. My dress pants are soaked. I don't care, because I'm drowning. I can't breathe. My lungs burn. My eyes water. If I weren't immortal, I'd think I was dying. I guess love does kill you in a sort of way. My mind begins to cool, and I finally slow, dancing around to try to figure out where I am. I wasn't exactly paying attention when my legs pushed themselves forward. All I knew was that I wanted to get away. And now here I am. Away, and in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't be happier about it. I find the lookout I like, a towering cliff that looks over a grandeur of mountains. The 𝐵𝐻𝐻 mountains are beautiful. I remember them being more breathtaking than they are now. And yet, they look less appealing now that I've met my mate. Lowering myself onto a fallen tree, I stare at the peaks and valleys, bathed in fluorescent moonlight. I miss her. My heart constricts. I can't ignore it. Can't ignore the call to be with her. She's easily 0 miles away, and I want her more than I ever have. I've heard that distance makes the heart grow fonder, but I never believed it until now. I put my head in my hands, nearly collapsing onto myself as agony spreads through my veins. How could Savannah talk me into this? Why did I agree to this? She's probably all lonely, without her friends or me. She has no one. How much longer does it have to take before this is resolved? I want Hendrix here, in my arms. Why can't things be easier? Shit. Look what you've gotten yourself into this time, Cedric. I grouch to myself, my words blowing billows of smoke into the cool air. A movement in the atmosphere draws my attention. I hear the voice before I see or smell the assailant. What exactly have you gotten yourself into? A calm voice asks, almost amusement of all things. I'm quick to turn and take a deep inhale of breath. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐻 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐂𝐤𝐧𝐑𝐚 enthusiasm. Overly floral scent overcomes me. It burns my throat, stinging my system. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐻 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐂𝐤𝐧𝐑𝐚 enthusiasm. A furious snarl tears free from my throat, and I storm to my feet. He stands feet away, his gaze annoying casual while he observes me, dressed in his green armor representing the fair folk. Why do they always have to seem so smug? I hate fairies. His hair is dark, his figure slim, pointed ears and sickeningly sharp, edged features. Those piercing pupils are almost familiar, so black that they suck the light out of the whole forest. Surprised, he grins, tilting his head, arms folded. Who the hell are you? I take a few steps towards him, and a flicker of reservation breaks his seemingly confident approach. He holds up two pale hands. There's still a glint of amusement there, but with a little bit of concern. Well, 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐜𝐤. Calm down. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝, and I know I should be talking a bit quicker, or you might try to kill me. He holds out a hand for me to shake. I promptly ignore it, shaking my head. No, you're wrong. I will kill you. You're trespassing. I inform him, stalking dangerously close. Fairies are strong, but him stronger. I can tell by one whiff that 𝐿𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝 not very old either. I could easily take him. He half smirks, lifting an eyebrow as he comes to a stop, his back hitting a tree. He opens his mouth, and the next few words he says aren't what I'm expecting. You wouldn't want to kill your own father-in-law. Now would you? I stop dead, a new light spreading across the ferry before me. His eyes are familiar now, and I can place where I've seen them. Clarity comes over me. This male, this is 𝐿𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝's father. There's a lot of resemblance, but I know how I wasn't able to place him earlier. Becoming fire transforms your face. He used to be a human. He was turned into a fairy. You're 𝐿𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝's father. But it's more like a statement. It's what 𝐿𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝 is claiming, and it's starting to make more sense. He nods, seemingly happy that I've accepted the news. 𝐿𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝 also relaxed, knowing I couldn't possibly kill him now. I rush forward, grabbing him by the collar. My breath comes in harsh pants as the fury courses through me. You left her, you son of a bitch. What do you want now? To rub it in, I demand, and he narrows his eyes on me. He isn't exactly worried for his life. He knows I won't kill him. Has nothing to fear. So did you? He says simply, his voice light and airy, like all fairies. It's almost music when they speak. That sentence only further infuriates me. How do you know that? Have you been watching us? I demand. I can't feel violated and caught off guard. How did I not notice him before? I already know the answer. My mate's presence intoxicates me. Not to mention, fairies are stealthy. Damn fairies. I'm not always tailing my daughter, but I do check in on her when I'm in this realm. He mentions, I couldn't help but notice her prancing around with her professor, who happens to be a lichen of ancient proportions. I can't say I was happy about it. That doesn't explain why you're here, or why you left my mate. I watch his face scrunch up at the last word. Apparently he doesn't want to be reminded of the relationship I share with his daughter. 𝐿𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝's protective of her. I was human when I left Hendrix. I'm not anymore. You do the math. He clicks his teeth, and I see the war waging in his eyes. The pain. There's only one logical explanation. 𝐿𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience and enthusiasm. Hendrix said he left his family for a younger woman. He found his mate, and I can only guess why. I should have known as soon as I saw him. Fairies aren't allowed to make a human fight unless they're mates. Hendrix had to be left behind. She couldn't know about their kind, wouldn't be allowed in their dimension because of her mortality. It would have killed her. My choice to leave is the second time that she's been abandoned, and because of the supernatural world. I won't let that happen again. I don't want you here. I don't want you near my mate, or my pet. Got it? I demand, letting him feel my alpha tone, my power. But Bo doesn't back down. When do you plan on going back to my daughter? He demands, cutting the crap and clearly getting to the point. His joking tone is gone, and despite the fact that I'm much older than him, 𝐿𝐷 using the voice of a protective father. He might as well ask me to have her home by 11, whenever the red alpha is caught. I tell him, leaning forward in the snow, not that it's any of your business. I have to stop talking about this before I have a mental breakdown. I miss my mate like I miss air. His eyelashes flutter as he blinks, every movement deliberate in the pale moonlit forest. The leafless branches casting shadows over his features. I can hardly believe this male is 𝐷𝐸𝐺𝐻's father. She's so human, and 𝐷𝐸𝐺𝐻 so not. It is my business. She's my daughter. She's only 18 years old, and she looks at you the way she used to look at me. He insists with a hiss, letting his frustration show a sliver. I blow out a breath. Like what? He pauses, a little unsure. Like you hold the world in your hands. I hate that reminder. I want to see 𝐷𝐸𝐺𝐻 look at me like that again. But I don't know if she ever will. Maybe a part of me is terrified to go back to her because she'll look at me differently. You lost the right to be her protector when you left. It's my job now. I bark at him, changing the subject. And Bo growls. He takes a step forward, as if he wants to attack me, but he stands down quickly after sizing me up. He knows I wouldn't kill him, despite my low opinion of him. 𝐊𝐲𝐻. 𝐊𝐲𝐻 also my mate's dad, and she still loves him. I couldn't do that to 𝐷𝐸𝐺𝐻. I could mail him though. I wouldn't mind putting a fairy in his place. Both eyes, shaking his head. I agree, but her happiness and safety is still a priority to me. You need to go back to her, and as soon as possible. Trust me. Alarm shocks me, jolting through my veins. He knows something I don't. Something must be wrong. What happened? I demand, glaring at him. What are you talking about? He backs away, and I want to follow him, but I feel trapped with overwhelming fear that twists my insides. 𝐷𝐸𝐺𝐻 is everything to me. Just trust me. She needs you. Go to her. You won't regret it. Bo explains, but it's not much information to go on. Before I can stop him, he takes another step back, disappearing into the bark of a tree as if he was never even here. 𝐷𝐸𝐺𝐸, I clutch at my chest, while rising up my throat. The sound of distress leaves my throat. Unfortunately for me, the customers notice. Are you all right? The man wonders with wide eyes, cautiously leaning away from me. The lady with him shrinks back into the booth. She gives me a worried look, with a little disgust. Belching again. I take a step back. Yes, excuse me. I'll go put your orders in. I all but race to the back of the diner without actually sprinting. As soon as the double doors swing closed behind me, I grab my paper cup full of water and chug it. It's been a tactic I've been using the past few weeks to reduce the urges to bath. I've been crazy sick. Though it keeps my mind off of my present depression, it terrifies me, fills me with gapable fear. The terror of my situation has been dawning on me with each passing day. The pressure builds. The stress piles up like a landfill. I walk around in a haze for the rest of the night, taking orders, cleaning tables, serving customers. Over and over I replay that night in my head. Why didn't we use protection? Through the few weeks that have passed, I willed my body to stop the symptoms. I prayed to God that I would get my period. It never came. The nausea persists, as does the constant drowsiness. I don't know if I can do this. Once I lock up the diner for the night, I rush down the road with my hands fisted around my purse. It's 2 a.m. I'm alone, and dizzy, only lit up by the dim street lights that flicker over my head. There's a Walgreens down on the corner. I make a beeline for the bright neon lights of the drugstore. I barely notice the swooshing of the automatic glass doors, or the cashier giving me a weird look. My feet eat up the aisles until I find the pregnancy tests. I stare at them, gulping. I look around before I grab 3 different kinds. The old woman behind the counter doesn't say a word as she rings up my purchase, but I see the sympathetic look in her eye. She looks sad. I feel sicker. I can't wait until I get back to my crappy apartment. I have to take these tests as soon as possible. I don't bother saying thank you when she tries to hand me a receipt. I ask where the bathroom is, and I almost trip on the way there. Going to the very last stall, I slam it shut and lock it. I take a deep breath. Then I unzip my jeans. Peeing on sticks is easy enough, though I'm panting as my heart races. I'm sweating, my ears are ringing, and I can hear the blood rushing through my head. Adrenaline courses through me as I wait for my results. I can't face the woman again. I don't want her to see my reaction. I stop for a second. I don't even know what my reaction will be. Will I be disappointed if it's negative? Will I be relieved? I squeeze my eyes shut. Time has passed, and I know the results are probably in by now. I just don't want to look and see what they say. My back hits the red wall of the stall, and I slowly lower until my butt is planted on the dirty floor. I hold up one of the tests, and I crack my eyes open. My heart stops in my chest, and I don't know if I'm still alive. Frantically, I look at the other test, and it tells me the same thing. I clench my fists on the final strip, taking a deep breath before flipping it over. The news isn't any different. The two pink lines turn blurry as my eyes fill with tears. I'm so screwed. 37 for 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷. After a few days of shock, I've sufficiently marinated in the news that I'm going to be a mother. It runs through my head over and over. I regret not taking the proper precautions, not preventing this from happening. But it happened, and I have to face the consequences. I'm only 18 years old, and I'm going to have a baby. How did it come to this? I know how bodies work. I'm not stupid. How did it not occur to me or Cedric that a baby could be made? Were we that blinded? I don't waste much time waiting around to find out. As soon as I'm over the distress, I'm back to my usual self. Despite all of the throwing up, I invest myself fully in my waitressing, knowing that hard work will get me where I need to be. I need money, but I've already gone back to working full-time, which means that I need a second job to make this work. Despite the fact that I hate the idea, I scroll through job opportunities in town. It's slim pickings for sure, but I can't be picky right now. Desperate times call for desperate measures. It doesn't take very long to get in touch with a manager at a local grocery store in need of a part-time cashier. It pays well, better than my diner job. I'm quick to snatch it up. The lady is nice at the interview, telling me that the job is mine if I want it. I do want it, because it's another paycheck that goes to my baby. There's only one problem. I have to quit school. Every night when I come home from the diner, stinking like food, I run over the pros and cons in my head while I rub my still flat stomach. I love school. I love learning, but I already love this baby more. This child is a part of me, and Cedric. This child will be my life. I can always go back to school. I just have to stay afloat right now. For the baby. Not only school times suck, but every time it comes time for me to pay tuition, it nearly breaks the bank. I'll steadily pay off my student loans and take a break from classes. That's what I tell myself when I go to the school counselor to let her know I'm done. I'm not dropping out. It's just a break. But if that's the case, then why do I feel like I'm giving up? I start at the grocery store, and time seems to speed up. I'm working 70 hours a week altogether. I hardly have time to stop and breathe, let alone eat, and yet I'm gaining more and more weight with each passing day. I sell my bike on Craigslist and finally get myself a car. When I have the baby, I know I'll need better transportation than a bike. Baby will need a car seat and airbags. I luck out when I spot a used Honda for only $3,000. That also means car insurance. But it's worth it. And even though I know the bills are expensive, I attempt to have my prenatal doctor's appointments. They insist that it's important. And I agree. I want my baby to be healthy. After the second visit, they tell me that I'm not actually 2.5 months like I told them. The doctor tells me that I'm almost 5 months telling by the ultrasound. He wouldn't take no for an answer. Not even when I explained that I hadn't had sex until the first week of December. And it's only mid-February. When I was there, I felt the distinct sense that he thought I was lying, and that I was a knocked-up teenager who was in denial. I stopped going after that. I have a breakdown in my car on the drive home wondering if there's something wrong with my baby. Mama always said to never trust a doctor. Mama also said not to get knocked up. That's why I haven't told her yet. She wouldn't let me come home. And even if she did, she would be passive-aggressive the whole time. A month goes by, and I can't recognize myself in the mirror anymore. My belly is bulging. The baby is active every day. He or she feels like they're doing somersaults in my womb, and it often wakes me up. When I can't get back to bed, I lay there and stare up at the ceiling. I rub my stomach and dream of what life would be like if Cedric were still in my life. Would he be happy at the news? Sometimes I'm tempted to call him and find out, but I never end up doing it. I stare at the screen, my finger hovering over his contact. I can't explain it well, but I want Cedric to come back for me, not the baby. Of course I would love to see him as a dedicated father. I want my baby to have what I didn't. And yet, the idea of him only returning to pay for our child kills me. He said 8 years coming back. I want it to be because he loves me, not because he feels obligated since we share a kid. To my 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐑𝐐𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐿, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐂𝐤𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐻𝐿 enthusiasm. I still have overwhelming doubts about that. It's been for months. I don't think 8 years coming back. Every time I think about it, I start to cry. I have to raise this baby by myself. I have to put food on the table, and pay for diapers, and college tuition. I try not to think too far ahead, but it's scary. I'm overthinking everything, cutting out the years in for this mistake. I realize that my best bet is to just ride it out. So that's what I do. I get up out of bed every morning, and I work my butt off. I push through the tired days and the dreary nights. I don't stop. I only take breaks to breath. Some days I forget about Miranda and Stacy, even though they keep calling me, and most of the time I ignore them. However, I can't forget about Cedric. I've known my best friend since middle school, but Cedric had 3 months of my life and is still stuck in my brain like a parasite. Even as I ring up someone's groceries, I stare blankly at the cash register, daydreaming about his beautiful Greek god face. Someone snaps their fingers in front of my eyes. Hey, you're right. The customer wonders, and I look up to see a guy staring at me. If I wasn't already in love, I might find him attractive. To my 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐑𝐐𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐂𝐤𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐑𝐐𝐬 enthusiasm. Oh yeah. In fine, I reply in a small voice. And there's only 10 minutes until we close the store. I can't wait to get home and crash into bed. I'm always exhausted now. The guy doesn't seem convinced. I tell him his total, and he pays with a wad of cash. He glances around the grocery store, which is dead silent. We hardly have any customers past 8 o'clock. He looks back at me. Having fun. It sure is packed in here. I snort at his joke, shaking my head. Most people hate to speak to the person behind the counter. It's easier for them to pretend we're not here. I'm surprised I haven't fallen asleep yet. I'm the only one who works the night shift on Saturdays, which are surprisingly slow. So when he roared alone, I stretch my arms above my head for emphasis, my rounded belly peeking out. He points at me. What's your name? He wonders, and I go blank for a second before I remember how to speak the English language. I wasn't expecting this much human interaction today. Hendrix. And he nods. You're either drummer girl for that cover band, aren't you? I shrug nonchalantly. I hate being reminded of the band. After what happened at Dylan's place, I quit. He tried to talk me out of it, but I refused. I haven't seen him since then. It's a blessing and a curse. I miss drumming. I don't think I'd be able to do it anyway. Sometimes I'm too tired after bagging groceries. I'm always out of breath. And he smiles. I find myself blushing at the flash of white teeth. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐑𝐿 pretty cute. His head is shaved. His build stocky, with pretty light hazel eyes. He could make any girl crazy with a flash of that smile. Man, you're amazing. 𝐿𝐸𝐲𝐻𝐸, by the way. He holds out his hand for me to shake. I do so cautiously. He may be handsome and all, but I don't know him. His grip is tight and worn. His hands aren't nearly as big as 𝐶𝐵𝐺. And there's no spark, no tingles. I chastise myself. I need to stop comparing people to him. 𝐿𝐸𝐲𝐻𝐸 right here. That makes him twice as good in my book. Well, it's nice to meet you. What time do you get off work? He wonders, looking me up and down. We could grab a bite to eat next door if you want. They have great burgers. I wasn't expecting to be hit on. Impregnant. That typically means you have a partner. But in this case, 𝐿𝐸𝐲𝐻𝐸, and you can definitely tell that I'm pregnant. My belly is huge. No amount of extra fabric can hide that. 𝐸𝐻𝐸 must sense my apprehension, because he holds up his hands innocently, not like a date or anything. I just think you're equal. I've never met a girl runner before. We can be friends. New in town, he explains, and I relax. I am hungry after all. What could it hurt? Somehow, I know that Cedric would absolutely hate this. It makes me want to do it even more. Shrugging my shoulders, I grin back at him, matching his enthusiasm. Sure, why not? I fiddle with the straw of my soda, glancing curiously around the bar and restaurant. I've been in places like this before for our band gigs, but they were strict about no drinks since I'm underage. This time, I'm still not getting anything alcoholic to drink. I'm pregnant. No way am I risking my child. Not to mention, last time I had a drink I couldn't control myself, and proceeded to get blackout drunk. I don't plan on a repeat of that. No thank you, 𝐸𝐻𝐸. However, is sipping happily on a beer as he hangs out with me. The atmosphere around us is bustling. Everyone is out for a late-night drink. The smell of beer wafts through the air, as does the delicious aroma of heavenly food. I can practically taste it on my tongue. I don't feel like I belong here. Everyone here is much older than I am, and they all look like they know what they're doing. My leg bounces, anxiety creeping in. I shouldn't be here. Oh, calm down. It's not like someone will start a bar fight with you. You're a pregnant teenager. No one will mess with you unless they're an asshole. They'd have to defend you. He smiles and I laugh, feeling silly for my nerves. I guess I just feel strange being in a place for adults. I know I'm technically an adult. I'm fixing to have a kid of all things. That's the most adult thing you can do. 𝐸𝐻𝐸 knew the guy checking it, so he snuck me in. I feel bad about it. I don't belong here. I'm not important enough to break rules for. I've only known 𝐸𝐻𝐸 for a scarce hour, and HES already being so nice to me. I kind of like it. I need a friend. He came into my life just in time. I don't know what it is about 𝐸𝐻𝐸, but I like him, really like him. I try not to get my hopes up. Everyone abandons me. How could he be any different? As per 𝐸𝐻𝐸's request, I try the cheeseburger, and I don't regret ordering it. It's delicious. I almost moan when I take the first greasy bite. I've hardly eaten anything but ramen noodles for the past month. 𝐸𝐻𝐸 eyes me with a curious grin. What? Your boyfriend doesn't take you out to eat? I almost choke on my food, and his smile disappears before my eyes. He sounds worried. Are you all right? I nod my head, pressing a hand to my chest to calm myself down. After I recover, I clear my throat before answering his very off-handed question. I don't have a boyfriend. I tell 𝐸𝐻𝐸, and he eyes my stomach with crunched-up eyebrows. If you don't mind me asking, how did I get pregnant? I finish for him. I had a boyfriend, but he left me, I say on a whisper, not really believing it myself. I never could have guessed that Cedric would break my heart. And yet, here I am, completely heartbroken. 𝐸𝐻𝐸 scoots up in the booth, getting closer to me. HES a little tense. His shoulders are hunched, jaw set in stone. Did he leave because of the baby? And it's an odd thing to ask. His questions are a little bit invasive. I blame it on the alcohol taking its course through his body. He doesn't look like a lightweight to me, but you never really know, I guess. No, he doesn't even know about the baby, and I don't plan on telling him. He seems to relax at my words, glancing around while nodding. I quickly devour the rest of my burger. It's getting late, and I need to get home. I have an early shift at the diner tomorrow. I have to be up by 5:30. Dread starts to fill me when we finish eating. How could I let this guy convince me to go out to eat? I don't have money to spare. I just sent Mama her monthly hospital check, and now I'm scraping by. I can't afford a huge cheeseburger and fries from a nice restaurant. This was a bad idea. When the waitress comes with the check, I reach for it as soon as it hits the table. But Jameson grabs it first. He shakes his head, waving the leather folder victoriously. You really thought I'd let you pay? Let me be a gentleman at least. Hendrix, he says playfully. You don't have to do that. My voice is desperate. I would feel bad if he paid for my dinner, but it would also be a huge weight off my shoulders. He thinks about it for a second, thumbing the paper slip. How about this? I pay for the food, and you give me your number. Jameson proposes, and I slouch in my seat. I feel defeated. All I need is another guy in my life. They all let me down by putting a knife in my back. I'm sorry. You're really nice and all. I like you a lot. I just got out of a relationship. I'm not ready to start dating again. I explain, trying to sound compassionate and failing. I sound more like I'm about to cry. I miss Cedric. Even though he left me, I still love him. Every day is a battle when I remember what we used to have. I don't know when I'll be ready to get back in the dating pool, or if I ever will. Who would want a single mother who has no education and no money? Jameson's laugh breaks my train of thought right off the tracks. I dart my gaze to him. You've got me all wrong. He waves his hands. I want to be friends. Hendrix. Purely platonic. 𝐶𝐿 extraordinaire, 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐷𝐿. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He holds his phone out. A new empty contact page open for me to fill out. I bite my lip, wondering if I should say yes. Do I want a friend? Yes, of course. I'm lonely and sad. But do I have time to upkeep a relationship with all I have to handle? Absolutely not. Unfortunately, my tender heart wrenches with excitement, looking into Jameson's peculiar eyes. I know I don't want to be alone anymore. I take a deep breath, and then I start typing my number into his phone. 38, a little of both. Hendrix BOV. I glance over my shoulder as Nancy practically purrs at Jameson. I see the panic in his eyes as he darts his gaze around the busy diner. My new friend looks everywhere but my co-worker's large bust. She flaunts what she has. He clearly isn't interested. Shaking my head, I turn my grin to the bag of takeout that Jameson ordered. Then I march out to his table to come to his rescue. The contrast of Nancy flirting with Jameson versus when she had her eyes on Cedric is completely different. Even though Jameson and I had been hanging out for a while, and I didn't even really know Cedric when it happened. It just goes to show how attached I really was. I remember how upset and defensive of him I had been. It's like I knew he was mine. When I show up at the table, Nancy is already gone. It's just slowing down in the diner. The supper rush is always hectic, but it's dying out as the time ticks past 7:30. Thank you. You're a lifesaver. Jameson jokes as he smags his paper bag of food. He hands me some cash, winking at me. Keep the change. 𝐶𝐿 extraordinaire, 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐷𝐿. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. I stare at the $50 bill in my hand with an open mouth, feeling flustered. He walks away swiftly before I can say anything, which would probably turn into an argument anyway. I count the money. My boss pulls our tips. I frown down at the green, crisp bill. It's so tempting to just take it. Into honest for that. even if I don't want to share tips with flirtatious Nancy. A wonderful sound fills the diner. And I know it's my favorite song on the jukebox, One of These Nights by 𝐿𝐥𝐳. I glanced to the music machine, only to see Jameson walking out of the double doors with a knowing smile on his face. I smile too. Cheers to good. After a few more tables, I'm nearly done in. I rush around the squeaky tile floors, running from table to table. I have hardly any energy, and I hate to have caffeine when I'm pregnant, but it's almost necessary. This baby takes everything out of me. Sometimes it's hard to get out of bed. I have to constantly take breaks to try to catch my breath from just walking around. Things that used to be easy are now impossible. Not to mention the extra 20 pounds I've regained. It's all absolutely exhausting. Swinging in and out of the kitchen. I'm practically dead on my feet. My legs are spaghetti noodles underneath me. They wobble with exertion, and little half-pint gives a kick. I rub my belly with a soft smile. I don't know the gender, and I don't want to know until they're born. I want it to be a surprise. I want to have something to look forward to. Zooming back out to the next table, I'm shocked when I see one of my old professors. She glances at me with a sickly sweet grin. It's almost malicious. Professor Henderson, I didn't expect to see you here. My throat feeling tight. This is the lady that saw me and Cedric kiss. She knows. She didn't tell on us. Now she's here. Her lips are candy red, but are turned up in the corners, and her blonde hair's pinned in a perfect ponytail. She has to be at least 30, and she's beautiful. Oh, hi there, Hendrix. Professor Henderson's eyes rake me up and down. Stopping on my belly. You sure do look different. Her comment sends a pang through me, and I put a comforting hand on my stomach. There's a gleam of joy on her face. She puts the menu down. I guess. Anything you want to order. I ask around the lump in my throat. She hums in though, pressing a long nail to her chin. 𝐊𝐥𝐳𝐷 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐬𝐷 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷 and a Caesar salad. Just trying to stay slim. You know, I bite my lip, feeling self-conscious all of the sudden. My body is a lot bigger than it used to be. Clearly she noticed the pregnancy weight. I tell myself that the comment is innocent. She's not trying to hurt me, but she keeps going. Say, when's the last time you saw Cedric? Oh, I mean, Professor Riley. Clearly you two are rather close. She settles on the word with a thick, sultry voice. There's clear implications there. Then she raises an eyebrow at my stomach. Unless, she says, you've been around the block. Her words make me sick. Slut-shaming isn't okay, and assuming someone's sex life isn't either. This lady is not nice. I was wrong to assume differently. I can't show her in mad though. I'm too non-confrontational. All I want to do is run away. No, it's his. I whisper, and tears spring to my eyes when Professor Henderson grins. Well, men have their needs. It was foolish of you to think otherwise. He probably needed a more mature woman to satisfy him. She mentions, fluffing her hair. He always did have this look in his eye when he saw me, as if he knew what he was lacking with you. A woman with experience is always better. You do well to remember that. Date someone your own size. Sweetie, leave the men for the women. Find yourself what you need. 𝐿𝐥𝐳𝐷 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐬𝐷 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience and enthusiasm. I nod, looking at the ground before marching away. I hold my pen and pad tight to my chest as I push the door into the kitchen. Ronnie must see my distress, because he raises an eyebrow and pauses his patty flipping. You are right. Always concerned about me. I shrug innocently, trying to look normal. I just need a little break. Is that all right? I can barely get the words out. But Ronnie nods. I put in Professor Henderson's order before rushing to the employee bathroom. As soon as the door is locked, I'm retching my lunch into the toilet. I haven't thrown up in a while. I'm past the morning sickness, but I don't stop until everything in my stomach is deposited into the toilet bowl. Then the crying starts. I don't know what to do. Why am I so lost? I sob until my stomach hurts. Cedric. Where are you? Cedric POV. The knock at my door doesn't catch me off guard, because I heard Savannah coming down the hall. I don't look from my paperwork when I tell her to come in with some reluctance. I'm a bit annoyed at the moment, and depressed. My mate's absence is taking its toll on me. I can't stand to be around anyone. She opens the door, and she has someone else with her, someone who she holds by the back of the neck. I raise my eyebrow. Miranda. Curiosity gets the best of me, and my annoyance disappears. 𝐿 friend has a sheepish look on her face. She doesn't want to be here. Savannah dragged her here. I wonder what the hell is going on, so I wave a hand for them to enter. This better be good enough for you to be disturbing me this late. It's 𝐿𝐢𝐬. I'm not in the mood to interact. Then again, I never am. I've been a recluse these past few months. I sigh heavily, leaning back. Savannah walks in with Miranda in front of her. She slams the door behind her to display her 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐑. She demands, shoving the smaller female into the leather couch across from my desk. Miranda folds her arms over her chest, tucking a piece of hair behind her ear in a nervous gesture. Tell him. Tell me what? I ask Savannah calmly, my temperature slowly climbing. In not feeling overly patient, Miranda's eyes dart up at my beta before sliding to me. She's much different than the girl that tried her hardest to get me to stay away from my mate. And he is your alpha now, whether you like it or, Savannah says, and Miranda shakes her head. That only angers Savannah. She lifts a thick, white envelope, tossing it onto my desk. I reach for it, unfolding it to see dozens of $1 bills. My eyes widen, and then I look at who it's addressed to. I raise my head slowly. Why are you trying to send money to Hendrix? My gut falling. I have a suspicion that I don't want to be confirmed. By the look in Miranda's eyes, I already know what she's about to say. Hendrix has money problems. Bad ones. She already moved into a cheaper apartment. She will never admit it, but she needs help. In trying to help provide for her. I know you want me to call her all the time to check in on her, but she's not answering very often, and she won't tell me a lot. I have a bad feeling. To my 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐾𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐢𝐧𝐰. Just let me do this for her, please, she begs, and I can tell it takes a lot of effort to show that much vulnerability. It's a hit to her pride. She's of alpha blood after all. Those words are devastating. I should have been more observant. I knew Hendrix had money problems, but what college student doesn't? I didn't know how bad it was. I'm such a bastard. My human was using coupons. I thought it was just a cute little hobby of hers. I didn't think it was necessary. She was struggling right before me, and I didn't even notice. And now I've left her to fend for herself. I rub at my forehead, dropping the paper pocket full of cash. I should have been the one to provide for her, not her shitty excuse for a friend. Savannah is getting impatient. Well, what do you want me to do with her? My beta presses, looking down at Miranda to try to intimidate her. I've seen her do it 1,000 times. She likes being over someone. Why should we do anything to her? And Savannah scoffs, waving a hand over Miranda's head. The lichen flinches into her seat. You asked her to relay all information she had on Hendrix. She conveniently left out a very critical detail. This is a serious offense. I sit there for a moment, grilling the armrests of my chair and thinking, what she says is true. I'm too busy hating myself to really care. I should have been better. And she used her own money to provide for my mate. I see nothing wrong with that. I turn to address Miranda. She fidgets under my gaze. I can taste her fear. I want her out of my office. You can send this money to her. But from now on, I will be the one to provide funds to my... Understand? Miranda nods. When you send it, don't say it's from you. Leave it anonymous. She won't accept it otherwise. She instructs. And I nod. She jumps off of the couch, grabbing the envelope before rushing for the door. Sure thing, I mumble after she leaves. And then I turn to Savannah. She slumps onto the couch, spreading out her arms and blowing out a frustrated breath. She looks up at the ceiling when she talks. Man, I really wanted to punish her. I don't like that female. And it's getting pretty chummy around here. She moppes, running a hand through her black hair. She smiles at me. I ignore her, glancing down at my papers. She sighs in obvious exasperation. What the hell is wrong with you? I glare at her. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll try. 𝐾𝐞𝐬 helped me realize how much it helps to say something rather than internalize it. Because Miranda is a bad friend to Hendrix. But at least she's doing all she can. She's doing better than I am at looking after my own Nate. I'm no better than her leaving Hendrix at that party. I left her. I pinched the bridge of my nose, closing my eyes and breathing out through my nose. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't get her back. She won't want me after all of this. I'm a horrible mate. Who knows what Hendrix will say to me when I go back? Savannah's demeanor changes quickly. She goes from playful and talkative to quiet and reserved. She shifts uncontrollably, and then takes a deep breath. What if you don't go back? She offers. My eyes fly open. I wasn't expecting that answer. The amount of anger it causes is outlandish. I stand, slamming a hand down on my desk. What? I demand through my teeth, and she shrinks back. She gulps. I almost think she won't answer. She finally does. I've loved you for as long as I've known you. Cedric, I was 12 when I first saw you. It was just a crush then, but it's turned into more. Savannah confides, and my mouth parts. This is a shock. She keeps going. I know you have a mate. I've dreaded the day you would find her. I thought I would hate her. I thought I would want to rip her throat out with my teeth. She shakes her head, staring at her fingers. I've never seen my beta so soft-spoken. I should be pissed that she wanted to kill my mate. But I remain silent. But I don't. Honestly. She's so sweet and innocent. And I feel like I have to protect her. She's a human. She's your mate. And she's my Luna. I know that if it came down to it, I'd die to protect her. Because I know that it would kill you if something happened to her. And I sort of. I kind of care about her. Savannah scoffs. If you can even believe that. I don't say anything. I don't know what to say. This isn't what I was expecting. How did I never see this? We stay like this for a few silent seconds. I stand and she sits, staring up at me with sad eyes. I knew it was a long shot. You two belong together. I won't try to keep you apart. I just want you to know that I'll always love you, even if I find my mate, and you end up happy with yours. You'll always hold a place in my heart. Cedric, I've never thought that Savannah could be so vulnerable. I didn't think she had that side to her. She's so incredibly sad. A heartbroken look in her creamy eyes is blatant. The scent of her pain makes my stomach churn. She's shattered. It's all my fault. I should have made sure this didn't happen. Her childlike fantasies got away from her. She broke her own heart. All because I didn't return her infatuation. She stands and walks away. I stay where I am. She looks at me over her shoulder from the doorway, clutching the doorknob with pale knuckles. Can I ask you something? She wonders. I nod absently, not trusting myself to say anything. Did you ever? Have you ever seen me as anything but your little sister? I ponder it for a moment. I can see and smell the amount of pain she's in. But I can't lie. I owe her the truth. No, Savannah bites her bottom lip, as if she knew all along. She nods her head before she ducks out of my office. After a few minutes, I realize that I'm still standing here in shock. I slowly settle down into my chair, closing my eyes. I think of Hendrix and all my stress seems to melt away. I will see her soon. I just know it. And I can't wait. I might go insane if I have to wait any longer.